Hey there, everybody. Yes, we are playing the Super Nintendo version of Street Fighter Alpha 2, released in 1996. The fact that Capcom was able to get this thing running on a 16-bit console that was released in 1990/1991 is still just wizardry to me. It certainly doesn't run as well as its 32-bit counterparts, especially on the Saturn. And of course, if you haven't got the Street Fighter Anniversary Collection for the Switch, PS4, or Xbox One, or if you haven't played it via the Street Fighter Alpha Anthology on the PS2, you might have missed out on this. Nonetheless, I think that this version holds up pretty well, and I'm going to show you why as I play through. So we're going to go ahead and start the arcade mode. We are going to pick my main man, Akuma, because that is my main. We'll keep turbo on. You'll notice right away the music is a step down. Gonna fight against Guy here. You'll also notice that there's some loading time that goes on, and this is something that didn't happen very often on a cartridge, but it had to access data. So you're seeing a bit of a stutter here. This is a final fight area. So Guy is a pain in my tail. I do not like fighting against Guy at all. So I'm hoping I don't lose right away. Come on. Boom. All right. That's a good start. Can't do any better than a perfect. Even though the voices are compressed and they sound a bit muffled, they're still dead on. It's great. The music is a step down, but it's still fine by me. Oh no! Oh, I got him. I thought I was in trouble. Oof. Well, no perfect this time. Did I get him? Oh, no! Boo. Got you with an uppercut. Sit down. So there you go. So one round in the books, I'm getting comfortable, so this is a good thing. Um, my experience with Street Fighter goes all the way back to 1990 with the original Street Fighter machine. I played it at a bowling alley, and the thing about the original Street Fighter game wasn't the gameplay, because the gameplay to me wasn't great, and I didn't understand at that time what dragon punches and fireballs were. But it was the voice quality. What strength? But don't forget, there are many guys like you all over the world. But it sounds like the announcer or the person speaking had like a bunch of marbles in their mouth. You can play the original Street Fighter game a few different ways. You can play it. Oof. You can. I'm sorry about that. You can play on any of the Capcom Classics collections. You can play via the Street Fighter Anniversary Collection. If you have a TurboGrafx 16 and a CD, you can play it. It's called Fighting Street there. So there are different ways you can play it to kind of check it out for yourself. Pulling off a Dragon Punch or a Fireball is a lot more random. Even though you put the move in, the correct move input in, it doesn't always pull itself off right. And there aren't any real character selections in that game other than playing as Ryu or Ken. Street Fighter 2 is where it really started. And a lot of that has to do... can't pull it off. Gotta get out of that corner. No. There it is. No! I had you. Street Fighter 2 was covered in just about every major gaming magazine. EGM, GamePro, Video Games and Computer Entertainment, Game Players. Didn't matter where you were looking. You could not get away from the original copy of Street Fighter 2. And when it came to the Super Nintendo, it just blew minds. When I played Street Fighter 2 in the arcade, I was bad at it. So I told myself I was going to get the Super Nintendo version to get better. I did. And there's a funny story behind that. I was in a KB Toys in Worcester, Massachusetts, at a place that no longer exists. It's called the Greendale Mall. and they had one copy of Street Fighter 2 left. I think it was like August of 1992, excuse me. So I think it was selling for like $80 because the cartridge was like a big memory cartridge, and the more memory that you had in the cartridge, like 16 megs, 32 megs, 64 megs, whatever it was, the more memory in it, the more money it would cost you. So they only had one copy left. It was $80. I really wanted it. My car insurance was due, however, and being a 20-year-old dummy, I decided that I was going to be late with my car insurance payment, and I bought the game anyway. Kids don't do that. That was dumb of me to do because I was very close to getting my insurance canceled. I had to borrow money in order to get it in order to pay it before it canceled. Like the day that they were going to cancel it, I went down and I paid it in person. It was a dumb thing to do, but I had Street Fighter 2 at home, and I played the game and I liked it. The funny thing about that game, and a story that I've talked about on Twitter a lot, ow, that hurt, was that, no! Darn you, Ken? Alright, we have to put an end to this. Was that playing Street Fighter 2 for the Super Nintendo led to the only time I have ever broken a controller. I was fighting against M. Bison, who was the very last boss in the game, and getting to him was already difficult. But getting to him and continually losing, I had had enough. So I literally snapped my controller in half. And then I realized after I'd snapped my controller in half that I didn't have another controller to play Street Fighter 2 with anymore, so I had to go and buy another controller, which cost money. And that's when I learned very quickly after that that I wasn't going to be breaking controllers when I get mad anymore because it's just too expensive. I did eventually get okay at Street Fighter 2. Ken and Ryu were my mains. Anybody who used the quarter circle forward techniques, like the Dragon Punch and Fireball inputs, I got good with those, which is why I like to use Akuma, because he's basically the same kind of player or the same kind of fighter. So if you have those moves down, you're pretty much set. And I played like all of the Street Fighter games, Street Fighter 2, Super Street Fighters, Super Street Fighter 2, Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo. And then when the Alpha series came out, which is why I'm playing this game tonight, everything changed for me. While I liked the original Street Fighter 2 series, there was always something about Alpha that I really liked. I remember playing the first Alpha game at a different bowling alley. This was a bowling alley that had working a working NBA Jam machine. I can't believe I missed it again. Had a pinball machine called Teed Off, which I played on stream a long time ago when I was streaming off PS4. And they had Street Fighter Alpha. And I remember reading about Street Fighter Alpha in Game Fan, and they had been talking about it. And I knew that I wanted to try and play it. And I really enjoyed it to where I bought Street Fighter Alpha for the PlayStation, and I was hooked from there. So when Street Fighter Alpha 2 came out, first in arcades, and I've actually played it at a place called Fantasy Realms that I've talked about on camera before. It was a local independent game store, which unfortunately isn't around anymore. But the owner of that store had bought a Street Fighter Alpha 2 machine, so I got to play it there. I had to bring quarters, of course, but I was able to play it there. And because the owner liked to play it, the owner and I would play against each other, and I learned to use Akuma pretty well. And then when Street Fighter Alpha 3 came out, it was on. He got Street Fighter Alpha 3 as an arcade machine at his store. And in order to get in good, I thought, I had to play, and I had to learn to play well. So again, I practiced with Akuma, and I got pretty good. And when Street Fighter Alpha 3 came out for the original PlayStation, I had that pre-ordered like a month in advance. And it was the longest wait for Alpha 3 to come out. But when I did, and when it did, and when I got to play it, that's all I played for like a month straight. I could not put it down. The World Tour mode, where you could build up your character RPG style with experience points and kind of tweak the character based on certain strengths, was just so awesome. I loved it. See you later, Dan. You just got perfected. Bingo. So that's my history with the Alpha games. I do miss playing the arcade game. I miss Fantasy Realms a lot. I've talked about it before. It was an amazing store. The owner, really nice guy. Um, I loved going there. I loved my time working there. I worked there for a little while in 2001 and 2002. It was just a great place to be. In fact, being part of that store, being a regular customer, and then later someone who worked there, that gave me my one opportunity working in radio. The owner of the store had purchased some radio time, and the owner, myself, and a friend of ours did a weekly radio show called The Game Guys, and we talked about video games for like 2 hours, and it was great. See ya. Perfect. Oh, it wasn't perfect? Yeah, it was. Thank you. So I got to work, or I got to be on the radio. I had a chance to go to E3 in 2001, and I couldn't afford to go. So what wound up happening is I wound up running the studio, or like the radio show, on my own, and I actually interviewed the guys when they were at the show. So that was cool. But getting to work for the store was great. The owner was the guy who convinced me to buy a Dreamcast. I was so dead set against Sega at that point, and I wasn't even going to touch it. If it had Sega on it, I didn't want to bother because I still felt burned by the 32X. So I remember in 1999, like the spring of '99, he had an import Dreamcast, and I didn't know it. He said, "Come here, I want to show you something." And he pulls me in, and he pops in this game called Sonic Adventure, and I just fell in love with it. And that's what made me pre-order and then buy a Dreamcast and spend like $700 on like September 9th, 99. I blame the owner for that. I blame Guy for that, but only in jest, because it's not really a blame thing. I didn't have to buy it, but he's the one that convinced me to do so. So Fantasy Realms also had a lot to do with my Street Fighter habit and why I love playing these games. So we're getting close to the end here. Don't know how I'm going to do against Bison. I struggled against Sagat a little bit. I've kind of thrown my strategy out the window. There we go. I want to try and dizzy him if I can. Oh. Still got him. Come on. Yeah. Stages look good. I mean, when I come back and I play this game, I'm constantly amazed by just how much of the core game that Capcom was able to carry over to a 16-bit console. It's not as perfect as it could have, as it was on other consoles, especially on the Saturn. But I think if you look at everything, if you take everything at face value, considering the power differences, this is just amazing. Even now, even what is it now? It was 96, so 6 to 96, 26 years ago. Yeah, just amazing, amazing stuff. So I think I got one more battle to go. Let's see. And always with Street Fighter Alpha, your last fight wasn't against like a main boss character, but it was against like your character's arch nemesis. And here, oh, wait a minute. Who's this? Who are you? Oh, I have to face off against myself? Wait a minute. Yeah, I do. Oh, boy. I was not ready for this. I either forgot this was a thing or something. But now I'm worried. Let's see. So I'm going to actually focus and shut my trap for a minute. Whoa! Is this Shin Akuma? No! That's cheating. No, no. Come on. All right. Well, that's the first time I lost. Yeah, cherry, because yeah, it's bad. Haha. There we go. How did you get that? Uh, and I get. Oh, come on. This is unbelievable. No. Ah, come on, dude. I had a feeling. And that's a bad feeling to have. The longest ellipsis ever. Do I get to go again? All right. We can't stop there. We got to keep going. Maybe I'll get Jen this time because I just got my butt handed to me by Shin Akuma. We'll see though. Ugh, that's embarrassing. And the funny thing about those fights, yeah, now I just have to fight regular Jen. The funny thing about those fights is that you get like free hits to start, and then the boss character just dismantles you. It's like, okay, you got your free shots, now you're done. All right, see if I can finish this up. Try not to embarrass myself again. Here we go. That's a perfect. Hey, take that, old man. I didn't like getting my tail kicked. Now you're going to pay. What I have, 1.5 million? That's not bad. I really want to see if I can pull off that Raging Demon Fist at some point here. Guess it's not going to matter. That's a 4-hit combo finish. 2 perfects. Take that. End of game. Even though I wind up with an 0-1 at the end of my score because I lost. And of course, Akuma starts talking about trying to find someone else to challenge, even though he got his tail kicked by his evil twin. These endings were always a little bit hokey, but that's okay. Getting endings in games was still a pretty big deal back then. So I'll put my initials in. There we go. And we'll see all the different ways that I won. I even had a cheesy win, apparently. 7 perfects. 1 cheesy win. And there we go. Street Fighter Alpha 2 is a lot of fun. You can still buy a digital copy of Street Fighter Alpha 2 for the Super Nintendo. I believe that the new Nintendo 3DS on the Virtual Console still allow you to buy it. And I know that there is rumor that they're gonna be shutting down the 3DS store soon. So I wouldn't wait too long if you have a 3DS, if you want to go ahead and grab a copy of this game, because if you have a Super Nintendo and you want to buy this, you're going to be paying considerably more for the cartridge. And that's the only way to play it, the Super Nintendo version. If you're looking to play the actual versions of the game, like the arcade version, you can get that, like I said, via the Street Fighter Anniversary Edition, which has been really cheap of late. I believe Best Buy has been selling it for $19 for the Switch. And it plays well. My only issue with the Switch version and with all of the versions that Digital Eclipse put together, and they did a great job with it, by the way, but the only issue I have with it is that you're not able to adjust the trigger buttons for all 3 punch or kick buttons. And you need to be able to have that for Street Fighter Alpha 2 to be able to use a level 3 alpha move, like a super alpha move. So that's my only point of contention with Street Fighter Alpha Anthology on the PS2. You do have the ability to set those buttons to 3 punches, 3 kicks, whatever. So that's a little bit better. But definitely pick it up for the 3DS to be able to play it on the go. Super Nintendo emulation on 3DS is quite good, except the sound might be a little bit quieter than you would like, but I think it runs pretty gosh darn well. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Pete Plays. It was fun to play through Street Fighter Alpha 2 once again. We'll be doing more games in the days and weeks to come, but until the next time, my friends, take care of yourselves and each other. See you later.